Morning, everybody. One of the last videos of the year here for us. Just wanted to talk about some updated news about cyber attacks and some of the things we talked about in the past over the last few weeks. LastPass, the password manager software service that has been in the news for the last couple of months because of security breaches, has updated things. So back in August, they had a breach. Initially, they said that nothing was stolen, nothing was, not everything was good, no problems. And I believe late October, early November, we talked about it in the past post. They had another breach, and that breach um, was confirmed that the information taken from the first breach was used to be successful in the second breach. And then now, third time's a charm. They have stolen password vaults. So, what are password vaults? Password vaults are essentially the areas that you, as users who use LastPass, have put in your encrypted information: website links, passwords, usernames, two-form authentications, any notes, payment information. Anything you've saved on LastPass is your vault. That is your encrypted vault. Now, good news, it is still encrypted. So, they don't have access to this information. They have it, they just can't access it. However, this article here that I'm reading, that I've read through, has indicated that basic user information has also been compromised. Usernames, emails, not passwords. What is it specifically? Make sure I get the exact information that's been. Basic user information, including email addresses, telephone numbers, billing address, and IP addresses, making it easy to target for phishing attacks. They can text message you saying their LastPass. They can call you saying their LastPass. Um, and again, as it says here, it is important to know that LastPass will never call, email, or text you to ask you to click on any links to verify your personal information. So, with that said, please don't be click happy. If you see something from LastPass, I would probably delete it. Um, if you've purchased from them directly, I would reach out to their support before clicking on anything to ensure that is in fact legitimate. I would actually just call your support if you've purchased from them directly and say, hey, what's going on? What do I need to do to ensure my security? I've read another article saying that it would be a suggested approach to change your master password. It isn't kept on anywhere in LastPass's servers or directories, so that's not available to the hackers who have stolen this information. However, that's where the phishing attack comes. They will try and use that to try and find ways to get this information. Whether it is to flat out ask you to give them their master password, whether it's to find a way to gather enough information to reset your master password, whatever the case may be. So it's recommended on other articles that you change the master password. Enable two-form authentication. So what happens is put your username, put your password, and then you'll get a notification, usually via text. When it comes to password managers, it'll come in a six-digit PIN that you can add for additional security. The reason for that is to ensure that extra layer of security. So in the event your master password is breached and compromised, you still have the two-form authentication. Um, excuse me, and that would be the best approach for right now if you decide to stay with LastPass. If you are provided LastPass by your managed service provider, MSP, I would reach out to them and have that conversation. Ask them what their stance is, what their approach is, what they plan on doing. Um, are they going to stay with LastPass? It's an honest question to ask. Are they going to stay with them? Um, for those who have the option to choose at this point, and you feel that LastPass may not be the best option given the last few months, there are alternatives out there. There's a number of alternatives that are work in the same fashion, um, haven't had the news cycle that they've had in the last little bit. Um, there is ways to add the extra layers to enhance security on top of a password manager and two-form authentication. There's many other ways. There's additional ways to add the layers. Because again, I've mentioned this many times, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who'll say it. Cybersecurity is a layered approach. It's not just one thing or the other that does it. It's multiple layers that reduce the risk, minimize the impact, the opportunities for it, and then should there be a breach, the layers are there to also minimize and reduce the impact that is affected by it, caused by it. So um, that's kind of the situation to look at. Try and see if you can add the extra layers in this situation. This is just a reminder. Um, there are no honor among thieves. I think the other article is going to drive that point across even more. But there is no honor among thieves. These cyber criminals are going to breach whoever they can, take whatever they can, and use it to their advantage. These companies, fortunately, have the backing to make the news. Smaller businesses don't have that. They just close their doors and are a distant memory. So that's where conversation then becomes for smaller businesses. Yes, it may not be your priority now, but in the new year, you may consider wanting to make it a priority, maybe not the priority, but a priority, to add some layers to your cybersecurity stack to make sure that you have the layers in place. You may in the back of your mind say it's not going to happen to me. I could name you half a dozen reasons on how it happened, or half a dozen ways that it could happen to you, and the impact that it would have to you. It's not, you're not immune to it, you're not invincible to it. In fact, small businesses are more susceptible to it because you have more to lose. So businesses or criminals like this will find you and exploit you, and know that either you will pay up or you'll shut down. You just won't make a fancy news cycle like LastPass or next article. Unfortunately, is like I said, makes it even worse. Toronto SickKids, they were. The article says here it's right off their website, so they're providing updates. It unfortunately started on December 18th, and it's a fluid and evolving situation. They're still under investigation. It is a confirmed ransomware attack. Obviously, so there is no source cause of it yet. Article still says that urgent and emergency cares as well as scheduled appointments or procedures are continuing. Services expected to continue as SickKids brings an impacted system back online. Clinical teams are currently experiencing delays with retrieving labs and imaging results, which may cause longer wait times for patients and families. So that's where it seems like a bit of the information or the bottleneck is now with everything that's going on. There's a lot of information here to digest about what's going on. I would, if you're interested, I'm going to post the SickKids link at the bottom of this video along with the LastPass article along with the video, so you guys can read. So everyone can read exactly what's exactly what's going on based on these articles. You can look up some more articles and see if you can get some more information as well. But these are the two I'm going to post along with the video, and use those as additional resources for you to read up on. Not the way I wanted to end the week. Not the way you want to wrap up the year for either of these organizations. But it is an eye-opener and a reminder that, as I just said earlier, just before we talked about SickKids, cyber criminals don't care. I remember the first real ransomware attack that was disclosed 2018, maybe even before that. It was UK was getting bombarded, and there was no honor. 2 hospitals, 3 utility companies, just shut right down, and there was just nothing anybody could do. They had to start from scratch, and then it got worse and worse and worse. Just remember, organizations like that and big businesses like this, they have the money to make the news cycle. They have the money to recoup. As a small business owner, where you've built from scratch and your blood, sweat, and tears, you might still be starting out. You might still be trying to establish yourself. Is this really something you want to take a risk on? I'm sitting here having this conversation. I don't care what your approach is or who it is you turn to, but I just, as a business owner myself, it's not a risk I want to take. There's so many other uncertainties in this, in owning your own business. This is one that, with some layered approach and the proper assistance and support, you can put everything in place to heavily reduce and minimize the threat. And should the attack actually happen, again, to minimize and reduce the impact. There is no silver bullet to say it's going to be 100% cleared, so you're never going to deter everything. You just have to make sure that you can minimize and reduce the risks on both the breach itself and the impact should a breach happen. And having the right people in place, the right team, the right support in place with the right utilities and tools is the only way to do it. Along with part of the most important layer is user training. If you have all these other things in place and a spam email comes in, somebody gets click happy, it's all for nothing anyways. I will stress this until I'm blue in the face. User training and user recognition of malicious information is the most important layer for cybersecurity and cyber threat mitigation and reduction of risk. We are all guilty of it. We're all going to click on something. We're all going to be click happy at some point, and we are the weakest link in those layers. It is something that we really need to make sure we improve on, but at the same time, the other layers and tools will help as we educate ourselves. So, again, not the way to wrap up. These are very disheartening bits of information. Um, but what can you do? Unfortunately, it is the nature of the world we're in, nature of the beast, of nature cost of doing business at this point is either having it in place or being subject to it. Having the layers in place to reduce and minimize, or being victim of it. It's really there's nothing else at this point. It's really unfortunate. There's no I can avoid it or it's not going to happen to me. That mentality. Um, there's a half dozen ways off the top of my head that a small business could be affected very quickly, very easily, and in a situation where somebody says, "Well, it's not going to happen to me." Please shift your mentality to how do I stop? What is the cost of it happening to me, as opposed to it'll never happen. I hope it never does, but having that thought process of it never happening is not the way to go. You are sure-footing yourself into the highest possible risk and allowing yourself to be exposed to the worst possible case, which for many small businesses would be closure of business, ceasing of operations. I don't want to hear that. There's so many other reasons for that to happen lately. This is not one of them. So please um, consider putting cybersecurity and technology support as a priority. It doesn't have to be the top priority, but put it as a priority. Please don't continue to have it as an afterthought. Have conversations with technology experts, and whether please just have those conversations with somebody to see how they can help, where they can help, um, and understand that yes, there's a cost, but the cost is probably still going to be less than the cost of trying to deal with it after the fact. Because there might not be a cost large, might not be a number large enough to the situation you're in once the attack has happened. So again, hopefully the video works for you. I will leave the links in there as well at the bottom of the video. At the bottom in the post, the links will be there for the articles to read up on. Feel free to look up for other ones to see the updates from other articles, other resources, and everybody. And I'm sure this may or may not be the last video. In the event it is, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. Wishing you all the best in 2023 to yourselves, your families, your friends, your teams, your staff, and your clients and customers. Everybody deserves to have some rest and relaxation over this time and to put your feet up and to hopefully wish you all the best for 2023. Um, hopefully, everybody doors stay open one more year and we can talk about this all again at the end of next year. So, thanks again, everybody.